I played the way I play. You don't tell me how I should play.
Today's guest is a man represented club and country on football's biggest stages.
I could walk around the street and people would be calling my name because of my dad. I'm the spitting image of my dad, basically.
There's a sad headline that's hit the press just recently. You've offered your services to the club. There's been no response. How do you feel about that?
Disappointed. Am I surprised? Probably not.
Firstly, you've just bagged a lot of money.
Transfer fees, that's club to club. The contract is what you get off. That is to buy your rights to go and play for them. They don't hold the power. I hold it by going and playing, by going and expressing myself, by going and being a winner.
Let's just pause for a moment and have a look at some of his belting goals. 633 league appearances, 130 league goals, 62 England caps, 7 goals for country, FIFA World Cup, FA Cup, League Cup, FA Charity Shield, UEFA Cup. Yes, it goes on.
You're still a human being. When you come off that pitch and you come out of that environment, you're still a human being. You can have a bad game, but do not let your effort drop. When you're going through a career and it's the emotional roller coaster that you've been through, even though it's a great career and I love it, do you really want that stress to be put onto them?
Today's conversation isn't just about trophies and tournaments. It's about identity. It's about resilience. It's about what it takes to thrive under scrutiny of one of the world's most demanding sporting environments. Join me as I ask Emile Heskey. So, what's your story? Welcome, Emile.
Thank you for having me. What an intro.
We've got some of your shirts here, haven't we, as a backdrop. Yeah. I mean, look, I'm a Leicester fan. You're from Leicester. We're going to talk about this, yeah? That is at the back there. That's your, what, you tell us.
Debut. That's my debut shirt, 95, playing against QPR away.
Wow, Walker's Crisps, the sponsor. Yeah. Hey, no way, look at that.
I was 17 when I wore that.
Oh my word. And this one down here?
It's you get given a 50th cap, 50th cap jersey.
Wow.
And all the lads signed it for me.
Wow.
So yeah, it's...
some big names on there then.
Yeah.
Wow.
I couldn't name them, but to be fair... Oh, there's Bex. Bex is on there.
Yeah, Beckham. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna go through this because I'll give the listeners a reminder of just who you were alongside, and I've brought in some of my own memorabilia. I've got Leicester City here, 1963 program. These were my dad's. I've got a program here. This is against Chelsea in 1985 with Gary Lineker on the front page. I've got a 1949 Wembley program. But this isn't all about Leicester City. This isn't all about your career. It's about you, the man behind all of this. But I do think it's fair to give just that, that bio at the start because it's a phenomenal career.
It's a long career.
It's a long career.
Started, like I said, in 95, 17, just turned 17, playing for Leicester. Still a kid, really, playing adults football.
You were?
Yeah.
Do you know one of the things as well, Emile? And, you're a big lad. you're a big guy. You're a big guy. And, Leicester fans remember your debut, myself included. I'm like, who's this kid? 17. And he's shrugging people off. Your size was one of your big advantages, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. And I knew how to use it as well.
You did. You did.
And I've moved a little bit different to people who were my size. Even though I was shrugging people off, I'd run with the ball.
You did.
I wasn't just your typical big centre forward. If you remember, I played left wing my first full season. So playing different positions, I just enjoyed getting out there. From a young age, I played with elder people, so got used to, one, being kicked around, and two, knowing how to stick up for myself and hold my own.
And that's an interesting point you make there because you are a Leicester lad. You're from the Highfields.
I was born in Highfields. I moved to Evington when I was about, I'd say about 8, about 7 or 8.
And you talk about not being messed about with. Your dad, Tyrone, right? We've got to mention Tyrone. We're going to talk about various members of your family, if that's okay with you. But, Tyrone was also a big fella. Mm-hmm. He didn't take no shit. He worked on the doors at some of the most notorious places in Leicester at the time.
Yeah, he did. Well, when you talk about well known, and this is the thing, you come into football and you're known for that. But I could walk around the street and people would be calling my name because of my dad.
Yeah,
I'm the spitting image of my dad, basically.
You are. Yeah. You are. How is he?
He's good. He's in a back and forward from Antigua.
Is that where they've gone now?
Yeah, so he's back.
Decided to have their
little bit of a sunshine breaks.
Why not? Why not?
So he's backwards and forwards from there. So when I would walk around, especially in Highfields, you'd hear the name Heskey, and you'd be looking around, and then people would, oh yeah, it's him, because I look exactly the same as my dad. So I couldn't go anywhere without someone saying something like that. So I was used to people calling my name.
That's interesting. So in those formative years then, coming up before you got your debut, you know, was the what a lot of young lads, you know, you're kicking around the ball and everything else, and to you, was it always the dream to get... No. I loved athletics. Don't get me wrong, I love football as well, but athletics was my first love. Loved sprinting, loved Carl Lewis. I loved Linford Christie was the man. He was the man.
Yeah, he was the man. And a weird one, I loved Ed Moses. Yeah, just the 400 metre hurdles. I don't know why, but I just loved watching him. And he was winning everything, wasn't he? So
yeah, he was.
So I loved athletics. But then, obviously, when you're playing football, you can be with your mates all the time. Athletics is kind of structured. Yeah. Whereas you can just go on the park with your mates and go and play football. So you're kind of doing that all the time. And then I obviously fell into school football, structured football with Leicester City, and then obviously it went on and on and on.
On and on and on. I mean, we're going to go through that. But was your dad, because, you know, he did have this reputation, but he was actually, there's another side of him, which was a very gentle, kind man. You know, so was your dad supportive of your earlier...
Yes. Yeah, he was. It wasn't easy because obviously he's working.
Exactly.
How do I get to training? How do I get to games? My mum wasn't driving at the time, so buses.
Did you used to go on the bus?
Yeah, buses everywhere. But that was normal for kids back in the day.
It's true.
20 pence, 50 pence, get on the bus, get you down to Filbert Street, get you over to Beaver Drive, to one into town, one out of town, the 22 bus. And you that was normal for me until my dad then started to take us to games and stuff. But up until that time, you just jump on and off buses.
And when you reflect on that, you know, we live in a very different society now. Very, very different. We spoke about this off air, didn't we? You know, but when you reflect on that, do you think it did you any harm?
No. No, because again, I was more savvy and understanding of now you give your kids money and say go and get to there, they wouldn't know how to. They'd be looking on the phone trying to go Uber. We would either walk, because I was in Evington to Highfields or Evington to town was probably about 35 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'd sometimes walk or walk and then look back, keep looking back, and you can't try and catch the bus to the next stop.
I've done that.
Yeah. And you try and catch it at the next stop. Sometimes you miss it, you just say, I'll just walk into town. And it's just a nice walk.
Yeah. And remind as well, there was no, I think I'm right, if I got the dates right, there was no smartphones.
No, there's no phones.
None of that, was there?
No, that came...
A bit later.
Yeah, early 90s?
Yeah,
early
I think
90s.
it was, yeah.
So no, you'd go to the bus stop and you'd be there. When's the next one?
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then
you always arrived training on time?
Most of the time. Yeah,
most of the time.
Yeah,
most of the time. Yeah. You know, it's an interesting backdrop, isn't it? And you know, we spoke about your size, and that differentiated you. It did. You know, Leicester City was your first club. You spent 6 years there.
Yeah, professional.
Professional, you did. Yeah.
But then I was there from the age of 9.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, academy. What they call it academy now is Centre of Excellence back then.
Wow.
Yeah, so I joined Leicester at 9. I joined Leicester at 9, being scouted from school football. I was in Evington, Linden Primary School. I got scouted by, sadly the guy's passed away, Len Mulby.
Wow.
Asked me to come, went down there, and basically it was just a load of kids, technically the best in the city. 50 kids just running around, and then you have coaches. I had Neville Hamilton at the time, who played for Leicester, etc. And we're just doing skills, we're just doing stuff, and then you kind of whittle it down throughout the years. And that's where I've got spotted. I played for, then off the back of that, because usually what happens is you play for your Sunday league, don't you? And you get spotted.
That's it.
I didn't play Sunday league football until I'd been in Leicester. One of the parents of the players that I played with obviously seen me there, come in every week and said, "Oh, which Sunday league team are you at?" I'm like, "What's that?" Because for me, being in a Christian family and being from the Caribbean, Sundays is for church.
Of course it is. Yeah, of
So
course.
we had the Methodist church at the back of us, and plus we had I stayed with my grandma, and my granddad weekends. So I'd go to the Methodist church across the road from there, and sometimes go to Pentecostal church with my grandma. So that was Sundays for us. Football wasn't that.
I'm also from a Christian family, so I can relate to that because Sunday was Sunday best.
Yes,
we're going to church,
yeah.
And then we're having food together,
Yep.
And then we're a family unit,
Yep.
and but you did spend a great time at Leicester.
Yes,
I've got some questions at the end of this from some fans. I told you about it, not just Leicester fans, some Liverpool fans and also England fans, But it's like you were playing alongside Robbie Savage, Muzzy Izzet, Matt Elliott, Jerry Taggart, Steve Claridge. Your manager was Martin O'Neill for a good chunk of the time. What was it like back then? So, it's very different.
Different, but great. First and foremost, it was Mark McGee that gave me my debut.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. It is an interesting one. There was a bug going throughout the squad. So I was one of probably two strikers that were left. So I just turned 17. That was March. I turned 17 in January. So played that game. I think we lost 2-0. But, I'm a quick learner in everything. So I understood the tempo and everything of first team football as opposed to 18s and reserves. So I learned that very quickly. And then playing regular, Martin O'Neill came in. Started slowly building a legacy, really. And I was part of that. We brought in Neil Lennon. Muzzy came in.
We didn't mention him there. Jerry Taggart.
Tags came in. Matty came in, but Walshy was already there. So then he started building this legacy, and it was brilliant. It was a great place to be because we had a lot of enjoyment. There was a serious part of it, but the manager managed to keep everyone just grounded and just keeping them happy. And I always say it was the best pub team I've ever played. The thing is, some of the stuff I look back now and we were doing and we were just enjoying. I'm like, how are we going to?
There was the King. Was it the King's Arms on King Street?
Yeah.
A lot of the lads used to go in there. You'd go in.
No problem.
No problem. You were standing amongst yourself, Muzzy. Robbie Savage.
But it was
Robbie
that sort
Savage
of club,
lived in Glenfield, where I was brought up, and he used to be in our local pool team. At the Domme. The lads are now going, oh, fuck yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
He used to come up. He dressed really hideously at times. That's Robbie, right?
Yeah, he wanted to stand out. That was the problem. That's the thing with Robbie. Yeah, he wanted to stand out. He turned up, the first day he turns up, he always has a go at me for my cars. But his first day he turned up in this purple Porsche. Oh, Jesus, that's a Robbie. But he's great.
Yeah.
We had a really, really great atmosphere that was built by Martin O'Neill. If you look at the tenure of him being there, went to the playoff final. So he went to Wembley 4 times in 5 years.
I know.
Playoff final and 3 League Cup finals. Winning the playoff final and 2 of the League Cup finals.
You talk about that, and we're going to come back to this because there is this thing, isn't there, in professional football back then to now. Everybody's in the spotlight. There's a lot of focus on what goes on off pitch as well as on pitch. Back then, there was a bit more freedom. You know, there wasn't social media. You weren't stalked, in if I can use that word. You know, the lads did used to, have a bit of fun, you know. But it was what I'm hearing from you is there was the balance.
Yeah, look, I think, but the balance came from the actual player himself that needed to understand the balance of this is actually serious business that we're doing. We're in the entertainment business and we've got to win games because no one really wants to go down. It was, and the funny thing is, again, like I said, Martin, you got to take your hat off to him because he built something. When we went up into the Premier League, everyone was saying that we're supposed to be relegated, and that's generally what happens, isn't it? The ones who go up, they haven't got the money, and they usually go back down. And we finished top half of the table.
I know.
You know, and that was built off the back of Martin O'Neill and how he got us playing and how he got us to understand the fight that we were in.
And that's the gift from a manager, I think.
Yeah.
Not all managers can do it.
It's difficult to get 25 players or 22 players all on your side, and he managed to do that.
Well, you're not just managing ability, are you? You're managing personalities, egos.
Yeah. One thing about him is, like you're saying, egos and stuff and personalities, he was always on the top.
Was he?
Yeah, everyone understood that he was always on
I'm the
top.
gaffer.
Yeah. Everyone understood that. Even Walshy, all of them. Even though Walshy had the relationship to go and sit with him because he's captain. And that's what the captain's got to do. He's got to look after us as well. He's got to be our leader for us, our union, which is the players. But then he's got to be able to talk to him. But he always knew that the gaffer was the gaffer.
Looking back at those days, Emile, what's your fondest memory of that time at Leicester?
Ooh, just playing in Filbert Street.
Was it?
Yeah. You know, it wasn't. We made it a bit of a. It wasn't a nice place to come to by the end.
Ooh, tell me about it.
Yeah,
you know, when I talk to people, you know, fans, former in that era, they were like, "That was a fucking
horrible place to put them in a little shed."
That was it was hostile. It was it had that edginess about it, didn't it?
Yeah, and we would have a go as a team. You got to remember the game against Arsenal.
Yeah.
Was it 2-1? And I'm sure it's 2-1, and there was only a few minutes, maybe 88th minute or in the 80th minute. Game finished 3-3. It's never over. We always had fight in us, and that was one of the things that he installed in us, which was fantastic.
March 10th, 2000. I think I've got that correct. You were signed to Liverpool for a record-breaking signing of 11 million. It was a club record at the time. When we look at now, those numbers look a little bit insignificant. But we're going back. You know, we're going back when cost of living was very different.
Yeah.
You know, your pound was a pound. There was very few. There was very few millionaires around, or a lot less, should I say? So 11 million. How did you feel? You were still a young man. Yeah,
I was still a kid, 22 years old. A lot of people think that I actually was older than that when I left.
No, I did. When I was doing my research, I'm like, he was still really young.
I was still a baby. Just turned 22 as well, didn't I?
I know.
So, no, it was great. The funny thing is, growing up in Leicester, you're a Leicester fan. But I was always with my uncle, who was a Liverpool fan. So I was, I was a Liverpool fan. And John Barnes at the time, you know. For me, watching someone that you can relate to do what he does at the highest level for England, you're looking at the World Cups where he's crossing for Gary Lineker.
I know.
Yeah, he's scoring headers, and you're like, wow, this. So when Liverpool came in, it was like, because I had Roma, I had Dortmund, I think I had Blackburn at one stage, I had Tottenham, I had Villa, I had a few clubs interested, but once I knew Liverpool were interested, it was like, that's where I want to go. I'd played with Michael for a good few years by then. Michael Owen. We actually played together first in my England 18s. So he's 2 years younger than me, so he'd jump up 2 years, play with us.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, we went to the Euros and played against France. France's forward line was Trezeguet, Anelka, and Henry.
Wow.
The manager was Gerard Houllier. So when Gerard Houllier came to Liverpool, it was like, I like the way they played together. And I was playing with him throughout the England ranks anyway. So played with him at 18s, at 21s. He didn't really stay too long. I think he played one game at 21s, Michael, then went to the full squad. But by the time I'd moved to Liverpool, I was in the full squad anyway.
Wow. Let's think about some of your, accolades there. Your the stats. 4 years there, 223 appearances, 60 goals. The club won so many titles. Mm-hmm. You're at a different team now, different squad. This is Anfield.
Different mentality as well.
I'm going to get to that. Because your teammates included Gerrard, Carragher, Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler.
Mm-hmm. Jamie Redknapp when I first got there.
Redknapp. How did it feel to you at 22? There's a couple of questions I'm going to ask you over this. Firstly, you've just bagged a lot of money. Mm-hmm. Right, that's a lot to be responsible for at any age.
By the way, no.
Go on.
That's club to club.
All right, but you've still got a good slice. No.
That's club to club.
Okay, go on.
So everyone looks at the
transfer fee. Transfer fees.
That's club to club. The contract is what you get off. So you've got to go and negotiate your contract. That is to buy your rights to go and play for them.
So does the player not get a percentage of that?
It has to be in the contract.
So did you?
Got something.
All right. But you're still in a bigger stage. You've still got...
The biggest thing was... so going off what you're saying there about going on to another stage, I'd been with them through the England setups.
Okay.
So I was an England international by then.
Yep.
I'd been in the squads, so I'd played with all the England players, etc. I've been. It's a bit daunting when you see an idol like Ian Wright and you're watching him.
Well, you got Ian Wright. You were in with Beckham. You were in with
all of them.
Scholes, Lampard.
All of them.
Gary Neville, Ferdinand.
Rio's my age, so we all came through the England setup together. So I kind of know them. But then obviously joined with Robbie and all them because I know them, and then obviously joined the club. So I'd already been around them. But it's great that you're in this dressing room. You're like, wow, and the heritage of the club.
You're still a young man at this time, Emile. How are you staying grounded?
Family. It wasn't easy because I'm from Leicester, so all I know is Leicester. All I know is my mum's house, the house that I was living in at that time. I had 2 kids at that time as well. So that's all I know. I know go and sit with my mate at his job for a little bit, then go home. So, and then it was like I'm in Liverpool, and it's not far. It's 2 hours drive.
It's not far.
But it felt like I was in another country. Because I didn't know anything. And like you're saying, you talk about phones and stuff like that. Sat nav wasn't around, so I didn't know how to get to the training ground. I only know Leicester.
You were living in Liverpool, weren't
you? Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't know how to get to the training ground. Then I have to figure out that, and then I'm wondering, have I even made the right decision?
Did that go through your mind?
Oh yeah. When I first signed, and I was fine. I was fine at the training ground. It was when I came off the pitch, and it's things to do and how to look after your family. And I've always had my family there, who was looking after me. And then it was like, no, I've got to grow up. So I had to grow up very quickly. But there was help there as well. Can't say that it wasn't help. There was help at Liverpool because they had player liaison officer who helps you. So there was help and everything, but it was the first few months was a struggle.
Was it?
Yeah, it was a struggle. But then obviously going into the new season, playing regular, I'm playing football. I'm in every day.
That's what you want to do.
Yeah, that's my arena. That's all I know. So
hey, I'm going to ask you because I've been watching a lot of your footage. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of yours because of your background and Leicester and everything else. But where did this come from?
So,
So people who are just on audio, I've just put one hand to my ear and then as
DJ,
if I'm
like a
spinning
DJ.
some decks. Because when you used to bang them in for Liverpool, that was your...
So DJ Spoon is a huge, and he's a friend of mine. So
is
he's a
he?
huge Liverpool fan. So he's made that DJ celebration up. And that's where that came from. He goes, I want you to do this. I said, no problem. And then I just went and scored loads of goals. And then the golf one, I don't play golf. I'm trying to get into it, by the way. But I don't play golf. And, you know, the 5-1 and putted, that's him as well.
Is it?
Yeah, so I did it, but it was from him.
It was a great celebration.
Yeah.
You know, we talk about England as well, because you were there from 1999 to 2010.
Yes.
I mean, we've got you...
With a bit of a gap in between.
A little bit of a gap. We've got your shirt behind us, 50 caps there. There's some great names on there. You know, Beckham's on there. You know, we've got some amazing names. You were in the squad with Rooney, Shearer, Fowler, Beckham. You know, I mean, these are iconic names. You know, Cole, keepers, Seaman, James. You know, I mean, these are the lads. These are the boys. Is there challenges when you're on international duty? Because suddenly, again, you're with a group of lads that you know, but
You don't know.
You don't know.
Because you don't, you know, you're not with them 24/7.
Yeah.
Yes and no. I'd grown up with, especially the younger lads, I'd grown up with them. So I played from 16s onwards. 16s, 18s, 21s, and then going to the full. So a lot of them I already knew. But then when you go into the full squad, you start to learn who about other players that you're playing with, etc. It is tough because, again, and it's one of the most difficult things that no one really talks about when it comes to management within that atmosphere.
Yeah.
You only got the players for 10 days, 12 days.
I know. I know. This is
so. How are you supposed to get the best out of them? Where really, as a manager of a football club, you've got them every day.
I know.
And trying to mould them into what you want. And so it is tough at times. And we have this age-old discussion about cliques in the squads and blah blah blah. The reality is, if me and you play for a club, me and you are at Leicester, and we go to an England setup, I'm going to sit with you. I'm going to sit with you at every meeting. I'm going to sit with you at every meeting. I'm going to sit next to you at dinner. I'm going to knock for you when we're going down. I'm going to make sure you're going to make sure that I'm on time, and I'm going to make sure you're on time for meetings, etc. And it's just normal to do that. What we then, as a coach, you've got to figure out how to break that a little bit for 12 days to then get everyone involved. Because, so we talk about the international career. So I was with Leicester first and then Liverpool. So then for a large portion of that time with the national team, I'm a Liverpool player. So I'm with the Liverpool lads. Then I come out of it and I go to Birmingham. Didn't play while I was at Birmingham. And then towards the end of my Wigan career, I started playing again with the national team. So it was like a 4-year gap. And I'm going back as a Wigan player, and suddenly I'm on my own again.
Ooh.
As a Wigan player, and then it's like, where do you sit? Where's the empty spaces?
Wow. You don't think about that.
I think Gareth has done a fantastic job in that sense to try and break that up. But the only thing is, how do you break it up at lunchtime, and how do you get everyone to do all the other stuff and integrate other people, everyone together for the time where you have downtime? Not the training time. Training, everyone loves training and everyone gets involved in training. It's your downtime that you've got to try and get everyone involved.
That's hard, man.
We had it with 2010, the World Cup. We've had it with the Euros. We have a room with arcades and stuff in. But how many times can you go in that? Yeah, and then you got to try and, I don't know how you do it, but you got to try and get everyone immersed in being together.
The other thing is, as a coach, manager, and even player, you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember one of the photographs, previously of the lads in the pool in the blow up. I'm talking, just a couple of years ago, last year maybe. Now to me, I look at that and go, brilliant, because you're team building.
Yeah, a bit of fun.
You're having a bit of a laugh. You're in blow up, whatever they were, unicorns, I think they were. But yeah, what you're telling us here is, hard to imagine. I'm sure most people don't, because the thing that I'm going to come to next is the scrutiny.
Yeah.
The public scrutiny at that level is fierce.
Mm-hmm.
You know, what's Heskey doing? He's not scored a goal. You know, he's banging them in for Liverpool. Why can't he bang them in for England? You know, well, I'm playing with a different set of lads. You know, there's a whole load of, you know, it's not just that, is it? You're away from home. You know, how are you resting properly?
Yeah.
You know, are you missing your family? There's loads to consider, isn't there?
There's so much to consider. Again, and this is where the managers and the FA are really good in trying to make everything homely and make everything at ease for you. But there's only so much they can do.
Yeah.
There is a pressure when you go with the national team because everyone believes the national team should play a certain way or play with this. Certain players should be on there. He's better than him. He's better than that. That's better than there. But what they don't understand is, does it all fit together on an 11v11? I remember years and years ago, Italy were the ones where they weren't picking the best player at the time. They're picking the ones that actually work well together. And then you've got to have that little bit of a blend in that as well. I'm playing 4-4-2 at my club, but we want to play 4-3-1, 4-3-2-1 or whatever we want to play. So it's a bit of a minefield when it comes to that, and you've got to be strong in everything that you do when you're at the national team. I went to the 2000. I think it was 2000. I think it was. Yeah, it was 2,000 euros, and all the papers are sprawled out on nothing. And you can imagine the negativity coming from them papers. But what's that doing to you if you saw that Ian's this, Ian's that, blah blah blah?
Well, you've hit on. It's almost like you're reading my mind, and I say this to a lot of guests because I think we're in a flow of conversation, and we can almost predict where it's going to go. Because it's obviously, you know, you're in the studio with me. We've got a connection here. I'm looking at you. I'm listening intently. You know, you've just mentioned the press there. You know, and that's hard to take, man.
But it is and it isn't.
All right.
It isn't when you get wise.
Well, this is what I was going to say to you. This was my next point. You know, as a striker, you're probably front of people's minds more than other members of the squad. We all know it's a team game. Everybody's important. It's one machine that works together. It's one team that plays together.
Yep.
If the striker's not being fed the ball, he ain't going to, you know, there's lots of things. There's lots of nuances. But what difference does it make, Emile, when you are being praised, you are banging them in the net, things are going well?
It's probably the best feeling. But do you know what? It's the best feeling when you get it from your peers and you get it from your manager, as opposed from media and all that, because that can go up and down. I've watched, and this is one of the things that you kind of pick up on as a kid and as a player. I watched Ashley Cole mark Ronaldo out the game. I think it was 04 maybe, I think it was. Yeah. I think it's 04 Euros. And I watched him mark him out the game, and even to this day, Ronaldo will say one of his toughest opponents has been Ashley Cole. Ashley Cole got something like a 4 or 5 out of 10 in that game. Thinking, he just marked one of the best players in the tournament out the game, and you get what, and then you start to scratch your head, and then you watch arguably the best ever Premier League player, Henry, and they're talking about, oh, he doesn't score goals against the big clubs, and what? What? And you tried to, but then you think, is it mind games trying to trigger something or whatever? Yeah. So then you're like, no, I'm not listening to any of this no more. So but it comes later on, because the younger you are, you're more impressionable. Oh yeah, look at this, look what they're saying. But then you don't realise they can flip that like that.
No, I know, and I'm going to come to this about your lads because they're young lads. They're doing well. But let's stay focused where we are, because how do you stay focused as a striker? How do you maintain that when you've got a goal drought? When you're having a run of, you know, tough.
But what I even said to I say to my son, you can have a bad game, but do not let your effort drop. And fans, especially Liverpool fans, are brilliant. if you're out there putting yourself about and flinging yourself into challenge, and I love to fling myself into challenges, and you're putting yourself about, they'll get behind you. And once they get behind you, then things slowly start to come. You don't become a bad player. You just lose your confidence sometimes. And for me, as long as the manager had my back and my players, I know my players will always have my back because the way I play, and I'm always sticking up for them as well. So I knew what I was capable of doing. So I never really fed into any negativity. I tried to keep that, even down when I came back with the national team. I think I had a 4-year break or something like that. And Michael helped me get back in. And Steve McLaren was the manager at the time, and I think we played Israel and someone, I can't remember, maybe Croatia or something. And Steve McLaren called me back into the squad, and the negativity around that was, it was so bad. It was embarrassing, to be honest.
Wow.
But I was I would have been about 32 or 32 or something like that. And when I came back in, and it's like, well, I'm mature. I don't need to listen to that. I don't need to do this. I just go and do what I'm doing. And I played, and the media was terrible. But then once I played, they kind of apologised in their own way. But you've got to go through that at times because they don't hold the power. I hold it by going and playing, by going and expressing myself, by going and being a winner.
That's such an interesting thing you've shared with us there, because self-belief is everything.
You need
right?
It gets sapped. It gets sapped, and it gets sapped.
I mentioned it in the bio. You are on one of the world's most demanding professions, sport-wise. The attention globally is enormous. We've now got this wave of America loving soccer, as they call it, and it's like it's getting more and more. And, when you reflect back, Emile, if you could advise younger Emile, right, looking back, before the spotlight, before the record-breaking signing, before the transfer fee, what would you say to young Emile? I mean, it's obvious you've stated there your self-belief was always strong. But was the reflection when you look back that maybe you today say to your lads?
Well, just enjoy. Because the thing is, you allow outside influence to take away your enjoyment at times. Where I came into this sport because I loved it.
Yeah.
I came into this sport with my mates telling me, you need to do this today, you need to do that, and do that. I need to see 2 nutmegs, I need to do this. It was just mad what my mates used to say to me. And I would go and do it because it was just love and it was fun. But then obviously that can be drained from you at times. And it becomes a job where I would say, go and keep enjoying it, keep loving it, because it's the best career ever, and it goes very quickly.
Well, we're going to come to that about, stepping away from the game, retiring as a, but, so do you think that there was that drive, that belief system, that enjoyment, reminding yourself? And let's be honest, it's a bit of a privileged lifestyle as well, So do you think that was your realization early on and throughout your career?
Say that again, sorry.
That realization of I'm living my dream. I'm doing what I'm passionate about.
And it's my dream. It's not anyone else's. They can't take it away from me.
That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's my dream. I live in mine. The funny thing is we as people want to mold ourselves the way people see us and the way people believe. I'm played the way I play. You don't tell me how I should play. A manager can tell me what he wants from me. But
and you're coachable to improve.
Yeah, but a crowd can't tell you how you should play or you're this player. No. So for me, I enjoyed my career because I lived it the way I wanted to live it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Good for
you. And I played it the way I wanted to play it.
Good for you.
And the thing is now, even with we talked about going back with the national team, I didn't go in that national team because I was banging in loads of goals. I went back to the national team because there was something missing, and they couldn't find it. And then when I went back, it's like, okay, I see it now.
You know, when you talk about that enthusiasm, that passion, that enjoyment, do you think there's the other side to that, where if the whole squad's heads dropped, it can become like
Dead weight.
Yeah.
It's tough. You'll always see teams when they're going through a blip, they're always looking for that one ray of light. Someone who's going to try and pull them out, and they've just got to hold on to that and try and pull themselves out. I've been through it because of being a big name and a big player at Birmingham. Everyone's looking at you. They're like, but they had it at Leicester. Give the ball to Emile. He would just run with it. And I had it at Leicester. Liverpool, we had so many players.
Yeah.
You know, you can rely on, most of the time you rely on Michael. But then you can rely on me, you can rely on Stevie, you can rely on Danny Murphy, Vladimir Smitsa, Milan Barros.
Wow.
All these players you can rely on. Now you go to a smaller club and they're like, there you go. Give the ball to him. You got to go and do something. And that can be tough at times. It can be very tough at times. So you've got to be ready for that, because everyone looks for that ray of sunshine who's going to bring them out of a tough time.
I get it. You know, I get it. And it's, I'll mention this, I'm not making light of it. It was a tremendous achievement for Leicester City to win the Premier League. Yeah. I mean, that was just, we all talk about it. Everybody who's, 5,000 to 1, the bookies even sort of, made the odds right against the squad. But when you look back at that season, what I see more than anything was a passion in every single player. That determination, that fight, the heads didn't drop. It was the win-win-win. It kept coming.
Top players as well.
Oh, there was.
So
there was.
Mahrez, Vardy, moments. And these are all these ray of sunshines that I was talking about.
Yeah.
Because you could just give the ball. You look at some of Jamie Vardy's goals. This is a punt-up field.
No.
And he's gone and done something. He's like, these are ray of sunshine that you need at times. Mahrez, and everyone's like, what we're going to do? Give it to Mahrez, he'll unlock. So you always got to have
Casper at the back.
And then you got Wes, Rock. So
Big Wes.
And then
Wes.
Kante.
Yeah. Wow. You spoke about this ignoring the press, ignoring the criticisms. There was another thing about you that it did start at Leicester, which was the chant Bruno. How did you feel about that?
I didn't mind it, to be honest with you. At first, it was like, what it is. I just want to play football. I'm a 17-year-old kid who just wants to play football.
It was that chant, wasn't it? Bruno, Bruno.
And I look nothing like Frank Bruno, but it's a way of fans endearing to you. So I was like, yeah, fine. But then once you go further and you get older, you're like, well, I don't look at. I want to be known for my own career, kind of thing, and everyone knows me now. Yeah. So want that to be dropped, but I still get called it now, to be honest, when I go to Leicester.
No, I know. It's that thing that's synonymous with you.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, he was the best boxer in the country,
at the time,
in the world, I think, at the time. So it's not a bad thing to be associated with.
I just think it was just a way that they could endear themselves to myself.
I think so. We spoke about today's football being very different to when you started at Leicester City. The attention on the players now is massive, not just on the pitch, off the pitch. I mean, you mentioned that at Liverpool at the time they had player liaison. Your two lads play at Man City. I think one of them's on transfer at the moment, isn't he?
He's on loan at the minute. He's on Sheffield Wednesday, yeah. Right,
okay. It's different, isn't it? The bar is much higher now. I think that's fair to say. Do you think? Do you think the bar is higher than it was 20 years ago?
In what aspect?
In the standard that's expected on and off the pitch.
No, I think the standard was there before. I just think that it's more visible now. because you got to remember. You watch the Leicester game. Where would you speak? Where would you do all your gossiping? The pub.
Yeah.
Where would you get all your news?
In the
paper. So you'd have to go and physically go and do the sit down with everyone. Now it's
yeah, true.
And by the way, you never had direct access to me. Now you got direct access to these players. Bang, straight into his thing, bang, straight to him. Which is good and bad because you can, one, as a player, you could probably control the narrative if anything was out there.
I like that.
But then two, it's just dealing with the constant basically intrusiveness of having been people being in your life. Can you live a life? Is your life just is it an open view for others? Whereas the reality is, you're a footballer. That's all you are. You're still a human being. When you come off that pitch and you come out of that environment, you're still a human being. You're still going, want to go buy McDonald's or do you know what I mean? That's still going. For kids, that's still a thought process in their mind. I could kill a McDonald's.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, what do you think? I mean, you spoke about your ability to ignore the criticism, ignore the press, and just sort of stay in your own lane, really.
Yeah.
Do your thing. Is there attributes in a professional sportsman that you think are sort of almost essential aside from the skills on the pitch?
Well, he needs to know how to do that.
Well, I know. That's what I mean. Aside from that,
he needs
that's like, let's say that's a given.
So, I think now he needs to understand that you have a career, and then you have your life, and they're two separate things. Well, you need to make them two separate things, and it might even be two separate things within social media as well. Because I know a lot of people mix it, that
they do.
Can be your IP. That can be your
yeah.
And that can just be your family life. You want to be private. You want just to have your family know what you're doing, etc. But it's tough. It's very tough. Not a lot of people want to do that. Some don't even want to be on social media because they just want to be that private life, know that they play football and then move away and not be involved in it.
I mean, did it ever agitate you a little bit? You know, when you're right in the heat of in the heat of the moment, you're at Liverpool, you're playing for England, you're on fire. Yeah.
I'll be lying if I say it never got on my nerves. I'll be lying. But you've got to get to a point where you're ignoring a lot of things and you're not even bothered about it. I'll be lying if I say it never got on my nerves. You know,
do you accept it's part of the lifestyle?
Yeah, it was part and parcel.
You know, so when you're walking around Leicester, you used to get Heskey.
Yeah.
It wasn't so bad then. But when you're at Liverpool and you're at international stage, all of a sudden people want a selfie with you. They want to be your mate.
And when you say in Liverpool, it's not just Liverpool.
No, I'm not.
When I went to Liverpool, then I realised how big Liverpool Football Club was. Oh, New York, people are calling your name.
Yeah, and I get that. And you're in the public eye, but it's the moments like when you're with your kids and your missus and you're having a meal in a restaurant and people are...
I think you've just got to understand that there is a commodity part of what you do. Even more so now. I'm okay with it now, but even more so because I'm not playing. But I like to try and get my kids to understand that as well.
Yeah. Well,
so I push them and goes, oh, you'll probably want them to sign it as well, or take a picture of them because they're blah, blah. So they've got to understand that people are going to come up to you. People are going to ask you for a picture, and there's never a wrong time to ask someone for a picture, and we've got to accept that.
Yeah. What I'm trying to get to here, Emile, is you're a human. We all have bad days. and I'm not talking about on the pitch. I'm talking about, something could have just really
riled you.
Yeah, in your private life, and then suddenly someone's in your face going, Emile, can you just sign this? Can I do?
Yeah. So there's that, but then there's the other side of it as well. So I look at both sides, and that happens sometimes. To be fair, I'm not going to lie. There'll be times where you're like,
not again.
Let me just go home, and you just walk off.
Do you?
Yeah, you just walk off because you don't want an argument with anyone. You don't want to be rude to anyone or anything. You just walk off. and then you live to fight another day. But then there's other times where I've met a girl, a woman. She I can't remember what she was going through something, and it was Brentford away. She said it was Brentford away. And I was at Liverpool, and she was going through something. And she'd just been diagnosed with cancer, etc., etc. And then I honestly can't remember it. But I pinpointed her out and went over to her and gave her a hug and took some pictures with her.
Wow.
But she remembers that.
Wow.
So these little things you've got to remember do help people who are going through stuff as well.
You've mentioned your sons. I've mentioned them a few times. Both cracking lads, from what I understand.
Yeah.
You know, Jaden and Regan.
Yeah.
You know, what does it mean to you as a father and a former professional footballer that they're following in your footsteps?
First and foremost, I never really wanted them to follow in my footsteps.
Wow.
Yeah, because when you're going through a career and it's the emotional roller coaster that you've been through, even though it's a great career and I love it, do you really want that stress to be put onto them? And then their mum took them to a football academy, just a football camp, soccer camp. And by the end of that soccer camp, we realised it's a Man City camp. It's the eldest one, he's 20 now. And they goes, can you bring him down to Man City? And I'm like, well, yeah. So she took him down. And I remember going and I was like, I never really wanted him to do it. But then you just sit there and you just watch them. I'm like, Jesus, this kid's miles off it. By within 3 weeks, top of the group. I was like, oh, wow. And then you get engrossed in it and you take them more and more. This is from the age of 4. Yeah, this is from the age of 4.
Wow.
So he's obviously got the genetics. He's obviously got the DNA. And it's just, everything's just coming out. And then his brother just follows him.
Wow.
Yeah. So now just seeing them progress through that, they're arguably one of the best academies out there in Man City. I wasn't going to get involved. I just left them, let them watch it, let them enjoy it, let them do it, and I just watched the progress. And it's been tremendous, to be honest.
You know, when you said that moment then, when you thought, oh, he's miles off mark, you know, there's a lot of touchline parents, you know, that in all walks of life, that really feel that the next kid is going to be the next best player on the planet. And they put so much pressure on that child from a young age because they're living their dream, not what the child wants, part, you know, and we see it all the time. So do you now, where your kids are in their career, do you consciously refrain from certain things?
I'd already told myself that I am not their coach. I am not getting involved in any of that. Even though I coach and everything, I'm not getting in any of that because one thing I don't like, and this is obviously, I've played and my dad, mum and dad didn't take me, but they would not be at the training because it wasn't allowed at the training. So you could focus wholeheartedly on the coach and learning. I'd see too many kids like looking over at their parents.
I know.
And distracted. Now, what are you actually learning if you're doing that? So my thing was I would stand right back so my kids do know I'm there sometimes, but most of the time don't even realise that I'm even there. So they're just going in and enjoying.
So you don't intervene?
Don't get involved. Don't get involved. Granted, they've probably got some of the best coaches at the club that they're at.
Yeah.
So it's good. And they're good players. So I just leave them to go and enjoy that because the reality is not my career. It's their career.
I love that.
And I guide my sons on certain things, not on tactics and all that, not on any of that. Now I guide them on other stuff.
You're playing a supportive parent.
Yeah.
Rather than
because like I said, me screaming and shouting at my son what is that going to do for him? It's not going to help him, is it?
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. So I think it's painful to see sometimes.
Yeah.
I really do, but it happens a lot. All right, so look, let's. Emile, this has been an amazing conversation with you, and this was about you, understanding about you as well as much as the professional career. But I can't help but keep coming back to it. Is there a ground that you've either played at or been in that's made you go, wow?
Anfield when I first got there, and I love old stadiums.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't like the new ones. The only new stadium that's given me the wow factor while playing has been Emirates.
Interesting.
But I like Filbert Street, Anfield, White Hart Lane, the old one.
The old one.
Yeah, and Highbury.
Yeah.
But the ones, and Villa Park, the ones that are so tight, you literally, the pitch ends here and the fans are there. Them ones are just, they're so electric. There's so much energy around them. I don't know what it is.
I know.
But there's so much energy around them. Because you take that same fan group and put them in a new stadium, you're like, what's happened?
I know.
There's something not quite there.
It loses it.
I always say that the old Wembley's better than the new. For atmosphere, the old Wembley's better than the new. That was personally, I was like, but it seemed like the old Wembley was so far back as well. Because it had the running track in between.
Yeah.
But it just felt, you could just feel the energy. It's a little, I've played in both, so it's a little bit different.
Thank you. You're, I think I've got this right. You're 48, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're 48. So what age did you retire officially?
10 years ago, 38.
38. So, okay, look, do you think there's an ideal age for someone who's still fit in the game to, retire? Is it, and the reason I ask that is, same thing with managers. You can step away in your prime, because let's take Klopp, for example, to be relevant to your association with Liverpool. Some said, what's he doing? But, behind his success and his devotion to that club, it comes at a price. For him, it wasn't just about, it's sacrifice. He was exhausted.
You can see it.
Yeah, you could. He publicly said, my family are forgetting who I am, because he devoted himself to that club. Do you think, okay, retrospectively, there does come a point as a footballer where
your body just can't do it.
No, you're going to have to say that's enough. But do you think there's a time, was it the right time for you?
I think it was about the right time. I probably could have done another year or two. I probably could have got to 40. Because I kept myself in reasonable shape, in good shape, and I could move. The only thing is back-to-back games and keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it.
This is it.
The wear and tear after a while was probably getting too much. But as managers, I think there's only so much pressure and so much abuse that you want to give, not just you, for your family as well.
I know.
Because you're not there. You're not there. So you've got to be careful of that and not overdoing it in that sense. But for me, 38 was probably just about right. But then again, I probably could have gone another couple of years where mentoring, playing, but mentoring kids as well, coming through to help them. Because I don't think we've got too many of them. I had Tony Cottee, who was brilliant for me. And I was a kid, I was, 20?
Wow. Have you ever considered management? Or
I went into coaching. I was coaching the women's and the boys under 18s. Enjoyed it. It's a lot though. And then the boys started playing. I was like, I can't be away all the time. I was coaching at Leicester, and it was literally leave at 8. Well, leave at 6. Back at 8. And then when do you get to see them play their games? And you're watching their games back on Huddle, which is a streaming thing that you can go back on and watch all their games again. So I'm watching all their games back on that just to see what they played like, how it was, how the game went. It wasn't ideal. So now I get to see all their games, and most of them anyway.
What I've heard from you from today's session with you, when you spoke about Christianity and your family, the closeness, your own children, your own family, and I know it's not always been a bed of roses, but it's important to you, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I think you've got to have that. I had that foundation. My mum and dad are still together, so
I know.
they live between here and the Caribbean, so they're still together. It's great to see. But yeah, they've got to have that. They've got to have that understanding that their father's there and has got their side. And I speak to them a lot about the footballing side of it, especially the older one now. He's playing first team football. Make sure you're resting. Make sure you got this. Make sure you're ready for the next training session.
Yep.
Make sure you've stretched. Make sure you've done your weights. And the funny thing, you talk about being big. I very rarely did weights until I was older. Yeah, I did it when I was very young. So when I say very young, I'm from about 14 till about 17. Then did nothing, little bits where you do it. But then when I was older, every day. Yeah. But I'm trying to get them to understand that there's got to be consistency with your weights and your diet. And our diet was... A funny thing is, you see the Walker's Crisp, so obviously the sponsor.
Yeah.
We used to be on the bus and have big boxes of Walker's Crisp on the coach.
Did you?
Yeah, he's like...
Well, it could have been a booze sponsor.
Yeah,
Back in the day, imagine that, you're all on the lash. But actually, I'm going to mention that because, there's these gaps in any professional sports person's day to day. You go train, you got your match days, you got rest periods. There's a lot of time, and then when you come out of the game, there's a hell of a lot of time. I'm right in saying you don't drink alcohol, do you?
No, I haven't drank it for about 3 years.
And you never were a big...
Not massive. I remember one time, I can't remember which final it was. It was either the playoff final or the League Cup final. And gave me a fucking bottle of champagne, drank that. And what I'd been 18 at the time. Yeah. Bottle of champagne, took a beer, drink that. And I was just wasted.
Was you?
They took me back to Sketchley Grange.
Yeah.
And then my dad's waiting for me off the bottom of the stairs, take me home. Yeah.
And it was like, you didn't, because a lot of people, a lot of footballers have fell into the trap of, addiction. It's sad.
Yeah.
It's a waste. It's interesting to hear that, it's not your thing. So what is your thing at the minute, Emile? What are you up to? What's getting you out? What's in the morning got you going, yes,
One, seeing the boys play.
Beautiful.
Getting up for them, I've got 2 daughters as well, so getting up for them. They actually play football. Well, when I say they play for their school. They're only kids, but they play for their school, so which is good.
Wow.
It's funny. So because the boys went to the same school. Wow. So seeing them in the kit, as well as the boys having pictures of the boys in the kit, yeah, it's funny. And then doing media, it helps me to talk about my career, etc. And being an ambassador for Liverpool. So I do a fair bit of work for them, and I've just started an app called Football Safety, which is basically a reporting app for abuse, any type. If you're sat there and someone's hurling abuse at anyone, and you can just report that through the app. Goes to a control centre, depending on how the severity of it. Might go to police. But you're working with football clubs to try and get them to take it on board. Most of them are receptive to it. It's just HR and all their data stuff and all that. But yeah, so it goes to their hub as well. So they'll have a hub that goes to them, and they know how to deal with it. Because a lot of the time, if you calling someone, someone's got into doing this, you don't really want to do that half the time.
No, I know.
Yeah, you get the problems with that. So you can just report it anonymously if you want. Or you can put your name to it, but it will only go to the control centre.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, so we are just running that on Put my name in for a similar one, but the student safety one. So it's connected to the actual university.
Wow.
So we've had a lot, obviously in Nottingham, and actually, was it not here in Leicester? One of the So we see them up and down the country where they're having a few problems. So it's just a reporting that for that.
And you can get that. It's live.
It's live already. Live already. I'm trying to get as many people on board, and as many, because Cambridge have it. Cambridge use it right now, and we're tailoring it to their particular needs. It's good.
Good for you. Well, before we wrap, I did say we'd got some fans' questions.
Okay.
Right. So a lot of these are from my friends, close friends, and family, and also some external friends. So the Glenfield lads, Glenny lads, as we're known. So let's kick off with Geddo, right? My mate Geddo. He says, who was your favourite striking partner? Now, you've alluded to this in this conversation. Yeah. Who was your all-time...
Michael Owen. Yeah, look, I played with him.
He predicted Michael Owen.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, Geddo said, I think he's going to say Michael Owen.
Yeah, so I played with him from such a young age, and it just clicked. We were scoring goals together at 18s level, 21s level, and obviously we move up. I joined Liverpool, and it's just, everything just clicked. We were opposites, so it worked really well. And we just had a great relationship on the pitch.
Tafty asked that one as well. He asked the same question. I put this out to the lads and said, who wants it? So Neil and Geddo asked the same question. They said, after the Sunderland game for Leicester City, many fans were really, really excited about the potential partnership. You know what you're going to say. Yeah. A lot of you and Stan Collymore. Yeah. Do you feel that there was the possibility?
No, because I'd already, in my mind, made up my mind where that I was leaving.
What I mean is,
would have been good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. And I was...
Stan the man.
Yeah, we were both peak of our performances back then as well, to be fair. And Stan probably had something to prove as well. And I was a young 22-year-old who was just, who could give you different options. So it looked really good, to be fair. Especially everything just clicked that one game, didn't it? So and then I up and left. And it's funny. It's funny. So Martin O'Neill's like, I never forgive you. You just upped and left after that game. You gave us all this hype about the Sunderland game, and then upped and left. I said, well, to be fair, Gaffer, you left at the end of the season. So yeah.
Jeff Pearce, who's a friend of mine and a former guest on here, he's a lifelong Liverpool fan. Uh-huh. He said, putting the strikers aside, who was the best player in squad environment that you ever had?
Probably Stevie. Yeah, probably Stevie G. Had everything. You got to remember, when I first get there, I'm 22. Yeah, so Stevie would have been 18, 19. Played left wing, right back, and centre midfield at times.
Wow.
But did it, and he was the best. Pace, power, everything. Could strike a ball. He was phenomenal. But you could see what he was going to become. But I would say we had really good players around us, and one of them was Gary McAllister, former Leicester.
Yeah.
Senior player, and this is what I was talking about, senior players. Senior player, but gave us what we needed to understand football as well, and at the highest level, how to control the game, how to push on again. He was brilliant, Gary Mac. But Stevie.
Okay. Richard Frey, my cousin who lives in Arizona.
Okay.
And he's a lifelong Leicester fan. In fact, the whole family are. His dad, my Uncle Mick, and my two cousins, the brothers, Robert and Jamie, both played decent standard. All the lads did. And in fact, Mick, back in his day, was a good keeper. They've asked, well, Richard specifically has asked, what was your favourite goal for Leicester?
For Leicester. Oh.
So many.
I've had some nice ones. There was one against Tottenham when the ball gets played in. I think Neil Lennon plays the ball into me, and It was kind of my trick. Just a ball would come into me and I'd shield it, and then just roll them and let the ball run, and I hit it with my left foot. That was a good one. And then another one was a header against Derby, where we were something like within 20 minutes we was like 4-0 up away. So one of them two would be, yeah.
You were good with your head, weren't you?
Yeah.
And Richard wants to say this to you. He wants to thank you on behalf of all the Leicester fans for being amongst those who saved the club from going into administration. And I will second that here and now. Thank you, Emile.
No.
Thank you. Finally, there's a sad headline that's hit the press just recently. It is quite a prominent headline in the Leicester Mercury, as you would expect. And we're going to show this when you're watching this on YouTube. We'll also show some of those goals that Emile's just spoken about. But you've offered your services to the club free of charge. And according to the press, so you can confirm this one way or the other, there's been no response. How do you feel about that?
Disappointed. Am I surprised? Probably not.
Right.
How it all came about was obviously I was speaking about the app and then what I'm up to, blah blah blah, and then mentioned about Leicester, and that came out. Asked the question, I just said, look, this is what I've done. This is what nothing's ever come back. So football's a very interesting environment. You kind of are in or you're out. And for me, I would love to, like I said, I've got so much going on anyway. But the reason I did, you just spoke about administration helping out. The reason I did that is I'm playing my career, and how did I get here? Because of Leicester. One, being born in Leicester, then being coached by Leicester coaches, then being given the platform to go and perform and be the best I possibly can. Yes, you need managers, you need coaches, but Leicester have allowed that. One, the city, and then the club. So it's like, no, that can't. You can't. No, this can't happen. So I want to be a part of that. That's helping them. And then you're in the situation where you're in now, and you've got someone who, alongside Gary Lineker, is the one of the biggest names in the city, and you don't even offer a reply. And everyone's got my number. So for me, you say, was I surprised? Probably not, knowing football, but I thought they would have been better.
All right, we'll leave it there. Emile, this has been an incredible conversation, learning about the man and the footballer. Prolific career.
Thank you.
You know, you made me emotional then when you just mentioned remembering your roots, where you come from. So, Emile, we've talked about, the legacies, the bits of the, parts of Leicester. And I brought this in with me. We showed you some programmes earlier. My mate runs a business up north, and he does these, like, Sabutio type characters, yeah? And I'm just going to, it's hard to see, but you're there.
Yeah, I can see, mate.
Emile Heskey. But listen to some of these names. And we've got Matty Elliott. We've got Gary Lineker. Yeah. We've got Peter Shilton. Yeah. Gordon Banks. Wes Morgan. Of course, Jamie Vardy. What have we got? We've got Stevie Walsh, Kasper Schmeichel, Claridge, Andy King, The Birch.
Nice.
Yeah. Gordon Banks. Now, there's only one manager on here, which is interesting, and that is Claudio Ranieri. Okay. There's only one manager on there. Now, intentional or not, I don't know. There's lots of other players on there as well. There's Weller on there. And Muzzy, is it? Riyad Mahrez. Oh, yes. Mahrez. Alan Smith. Yeah. But it's a nice piece to look at, isn't it?
It's great.
Just to say, you know, Leicester, and I'd like to gift that to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Is that Ali Mocklin? No, that's Birch.
That's the birch.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome. So you've just heard Emile's story. What an incredible story. But what are the takeaways? I think there's a few. It's about being a team effort. It's about ignoring the external criticisms and knowing that your passion and ability lies within you. It's about family. It's about connection and remembering your roots. And above all, it's just about one man's story that, as amongst many, him being considered a legend, yet he sits here with us in the studio, as humble as can be and as grounded as can be, and he carries that through his legacy, which will be his children. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you will follow us. I hope you will hit subscribe and watch more episodes of So What's Your Story. I love you all. Thank you so much for tuning in.